Data loading in Snowflake can be done in many different ways. It could be done via Snowflake Classic WebUI or using SnowSQL CLI or internal or external stages like S3 or Azure ADLS Gen 2. When you start your data project, you receive sample CSV files and you want an easy way to upload those files into Snowflake tables using Snowflake Classic WebUI. And that's what this video will focus on by considering flat files with different delimiters like comma, pipe, tab, and how these delimiters as well as file compression makes a big difference in your virtual warehouse compute cost. You can download all those scripts and complete sample files used in this video and practice them in your enterprise Snowflake account or in a free trial Snowflake account. We are going to cover a lot and exercise everything listed here. Upload flat files with different delimiters, understand file format properties including double quote and null values, check how to monitor and debug data upload failures, understand error record handling, the role of file compression and warehouse performance. Everything will be done using Snowflake Legacy WebUI as Snowsight does not support any file loader feature yet. Welcome back to my channel Data Engineering Simplified, and to this how to load data into Snowflake series for true data professionals like you. Snowflake does not support data extraction directly from sources, and that's why there are many ways to ingest data into Snowflake. This playlist will explore all those options and bring the best practices in your development habit and make you a rock star player in your data team. Snowflake Cloud Data Warehouse is the future. It is such a powerful platform with great features, and it will eventually replace many legacy data platforms. And to help this Snowflake community, including new and experienced data professionals, and for the folks who wants to switch their career to data engineering and machine learning domain, I have been adding many simple and real-life scenario-based videos, so we all can share and learn together. You don't need to pay any expensive courses. All my contents are freely available in this channel. My channel audience, be it a new to Snowflake or experienced data professional, all are learning together, and to my surprise, they are clearing SnowPro certification at first attempt and scoring really high. So there are a lot of interesting things to learn about data loading in Snowflake, and nobody will taught or explain about them. So stick until the end of this video. So first, let's review our sample data files. We are going to load customer data which has 15 fields. The first line in the data file is a header and should not be treated as a data record. The file has all kind of data types: varchar, number, decimal, date, boolean, and timestamp. Fields are separated using comma character in this sample file, and lines are separated using new line character, and there is no compression applied. So we will load the flat files without any compression. We need to create a file format object with the type CSV, compression equals to none, field delimiter equals to comma, and skipping the first row as this is a header row, not the data row. Likewise, we have a same customer data available where delimiter is a pipe character instead of comma, and here is example. And finally, we have a same customer data available where delimiter is a tab character instead of a comma or a pipe. All these flat files are represented as a CSV when it comes to Snowflake file format object, and field delimiter property is specified as per the data file. So if your field delimiter is a tab, you will represent as /t, and if your field delimiter is a pipe, you will represent as a pipe character. Many of us always think that CSV is always comma separated values, but they are flat files, or we call them human readable files, and fields or columns are separated using a delimiter characters, and comma is a most common delimiter. When you export Excel file into a CSV, you have a choice to specify whether delimiter will be a comma or a TSV or a tab. However, if you have not specified, it will always take comma as a delimiter. So let's jump to our Snowflake Snowsight as well as Classic WebUI and try loading these sample data files. This is my Snowflake free trial version, and I am opening my first worksheet. All my worksheets are listed here. I have already created a database and schema, so I'm not going to create it. So first, I am going to create a table called customer underscore CSV. It has 15 columns and having all kind of data types include number, varchar, date, boolean, and timestamp. Okay, let me create this table. So my customer underscore CSV is created successfully. So I am going to create a file format which will parse the flat file based on the delimiter. The type is CSV. The compression is none. The field delimiter is a comma here, and I am going to skip my first row. Okay, let me create this file format. So my file format is created successfully, and let's quickly review the CSV file. This is the CSV file, okay, having the first line is a header starting from customer PK to the registration date. It has 10,000 rows including the file header, and here is a comma which is a delimiter between two columns. There are cases where I can see there are double quotes, and we will see how this double quote is being treated when the file is being loaded into the system. Let's run this query and understand which version of Snowflake I am using. So Snowflake version is 6.32.0 and it is AWS Southeast. Right now, Snowsight does not support data loading, and for that, we have to go to the Snowflake Classic WebUI. Let's see whether my table is created or not. I can see my customer CSV is created. It does not have any rows right now. So number of rows and size both are 0. I can click on this definition button and it will show me the entire definition. I can click on the copy command as well. So now I am going to my classic web UI, which you can go and click over here. It will again ask for a user ID and password. Let me give the user ID and password. Here I will click on the database tab and then I will click on this database. The customer CSV table is listed here. I have to select this row and click on this load data icon. By default, it is showing CSV extra small load warehouse. I will keep it as is. I have other virtual warehouse also listed here. Click on next. I am going to select a file. A file is selected and the file size is 1.4 MB. It has automatically detected it is a text file, which is a human readable file, and it is having an extension called CSV. All good. Let's see when we try to upload PSV and TSV, whether it changes to PSV or TSV or remains CSV. I can click on next. Here, I have only one file format, which is customer CSV FF. So I have selected that. It is selected automatically because I do not have any other file format. And I go to the next button. So the next is a load option. It says, what should the load do if it encounters an error while parsing the file? And parsing the file will happen based on this file format. Okay. I can either say if it encounters an error, do not load the file, or I can say stop loading, roll back and return the error, which is the default option. Do not load any data in the file if the error counts exceed. So you can choose that and you can give like up to 5 error record or up to 10 error records. We should be able to ignore it. And if you hover this button, it will say that is specify the error count as a percentage and add percentage sign. For this case, I am choosing continue loading valid data from the file. So if there is any error record, it will skip and it will load the good data. You can also click on the show SQL. Here, it will perform two operations. First, it will use the put command and it will place the file under the customer CSV table, which is called table stage. And then it will run a copy command, which says on error, continue, and purge equals to true. What does it mean? This particular file, after it is being loaded, will be deleted. Okay, so I'm closing this and I'm clicking on the load button. Now it is processing. First file is being encrypted. Once it is encrypted, then it will be staged. And once the staging is done, then it will run the copy command. So here I got the result. It says 10,000 rows are parsed. However, 9,849 rows are loaded. Snowflake has not loaded close to 151 records. However, only the first row has been recorded saying that field delimiter, comma found while expecting record delimiter new line. Okay, let's understand what does it mean. So I click on OK and going back to my Snowsight, going into the database schema and clicking on customer CSV table. Here it says 908K rows and total size is 473 KB. It shows 100 rows out of 9.8K rows and click on the copy history. If the data is partially loaded, it will show with a yellow color, and here clearly says the partial loaded status, and it says line number 4138 having an issue. Let's see and understand what is that line number 4138 and what is this character issue at 130th position. Now, here you have observed this particular row is not loaded. The reason for that, here is a double quote. Since we have not specified in our file format how to handle the double quote, and that's why this particular record has been ignored. So we have seen how to understand the partial loaded, try to locate why a particular record has been failed. Though it was not super clear, but there is a way that Snowflake allows you to understand why a particular record has been ignored. You can also fetch the same information using information schema. So we can go to the load history view, which is a part of information schema, and you can run this query. So let's run this query. And here I can see my data is loaded, and it shows the error, which is not super clear. And it says that first error line is 4138 and number 130 is the character position. So how can we fix this issue? Some of our description fields are enclosed using double quotes, and while parsing the data row, a Snowflake file format object could not understand how to parse it when the fields are enclosed using such character. There are cases where fields could be enclosed using double quote or a single quote, and to parse such fields in data file, a Snowflake file format has a property called field enclosed by, and a value can be assigned. When we assign a value to this property, the value should be either octal or hexadecimal character. And here I am creating another file format called customer CSV underscore ff2 and added this property where field optionally enclosed is taking a value /042, and this represent double quote. For a single quote, this value will go /027. Let me create this file format. Now my file format is created successfully, named customer underscore CSV underscore ff2. Before I load the data again into the customer CSV table, let me truncate the existing data set. Data is truncated successfully. Let's verify it. I have 0 records and table size is also 0. Let me go back to my classic WebUI and reload the data with the same set of file by choosing this new file format. I can see I have two file format listed here. I am choosing the new file format where field optionally enclosed by property is provided. Now I am selecting the last option. So if Snowflake encounter any error while loading the data, which shouldn't be the case, it will skip all the error records. Let's load the data quickly. So all parsed records are successfully loaded with this new file format, and it does not throw any error. And data size at Snowflake storage level is 481 KB from 1.4 MB of data file. Let's go to Snowsight and check the copy history tab under the customer CSV table. Now I can see two entries as two data load operations are performed. The first row was partially loaded and the second attempt was successfully done without any errors. So by having a right set of properties in your file format, you can load your data successfully into Snowflake. Now I am going to load data files which are separated by tab as well as pipe sign. Okay, let's quickly review the data first and then I will open this worksheet and load the data. This is the same file, however, the fields are separated using a pipe character. And here you see exactly the same customer file. However, each field is separated by a tab character. Okay, we are going to load both the files and what changes we have to make it in our file format and in our loading operation. Let me open the tab separated value worksheet. This time I am going to use a different virtual warehouse because I want to see the performance of these individual virtual warehouses when we are changing the file format. I'm going to create a table called customer underscore TSV. My table got created successfully. It is the same structure, no change. When I'm going to create a customer underscore TSV underscore file format, the only change what I have done it in the field delimiter is /t. Though it is a TSV file, but the type of file format is a CSV. Okay, let me create this file format. My file format created successfully. Now again, I will go back to my legacy web UI because Snowsight still does not support data loading. I can see customer TSV entry and click on this line and click on the data load. Here I am selecting TSV load virtual warehouse and selecting my file. Now it clearly says tab separated values. In the earlier screenshot, when we were loading CSV, it understood it is a CSV file. But when we are loading a tab separated, it is clearly indicating it is a tab separated values. The size is still 1.4 MB, looks good. Name of the file is customer 10K good data TSV. I am choosing a TSV file format and I'm choosing the last option, continue loading valid data from the file. Click on the load button. Encryption is done. Staging is going on. Total 10,000 records are parsed, 10,000 rows are loaded. Good. And here I don't see any changes in the size. Looks good. Let's go back to Snowsight. Customer TSV. I can see total 10K rows, all good. Let's click on the copy history. And copy history also shows the data is loaded successfully. All good. If I have to check the load status, I can run this query on the load history view. I can see my customer TSV and 10,000 rows. There is no issue with the error messages and no error count. So all looks good. Now let's load PSV file. Let me change my role and warehouse. Now I am creating a table called customer PSV. So my customer PSV table is created, which will hold the data coming from a flat file, which is separated by a pipe sign. And when I'm creating a file format, this is also named customer underscore PSV file format. And the field delimiter is a pipe character. There are files where fields are separated using a pipe. And if that is a use case you are dealing with, this is how your file format should look like. So customer PSV file format is created. Now I am again switching back to the legacy web UI to load the data. I can see my customer PSV. Click on the load data button. I am choosing PSV load virtual warehouse and selecting the file. And here you pay attention. The tab separated and the comma separated has been identified. However, Snowflake could not identify PSV. You may use a very different file format, and while doing your data project, make sure you pay attention whether Snowflake is able to recognize it or not. All good. Moving next. I am selecting PSV file format and again going with the last option. File is being encrypted before loading it and it is being staged, and all the 10,000 rows with the pipe separated values are loaded. Good. And I can see the size for all the files are same because they're exactly the same data set. Moving to my Snowsight. So I can see total 10,000 rows and here the copy history which has loaded this PSV file. All good. So this simple, you can load different kind of flat files which are being separated with comma, tab or pipe sign. Now let's see what query history screen records. Whenever a data is loaded, it is running a put statement followed by a copy statement. So let me filter a copy statement here. Here I can see 3 copy statement. They have used different virtual warehouses, PSV, TSV and CSV. If you look, all of them have scanned 1.4 megabyte of data. And if you see, our CSV is the most efficient compared to TSV and PSV. One interesting thing to observe, whenever you have a file which is not properly formatted or having an error record, it ends spending more time loading the data. This is the role of a file format when it comes to the compute cost. So if you want to optimize your Snowflake compute cost, make sure your file should have the comma as a delimiter and validate your data even before data is being loaded into Snowflake. That will save a lot of cost. Let's talk about error handling mechanism. While loading the file using WebUI, it executes copy commands. The copy command has 4 different type of loading option to handle the error, and that controls the loading behavior. According to your use case and data file, you can choose any one of them. The option 1 and option 2 are very similar. They primarily abort the entire data loading if any error occurs. And here are the option: on error skip file or on error abort statement. The option 3 says how many error record can be skipped, or you can also define that number in percentage. So if you are loading 100 record and you want to skip 10 or 10 percentage, you can just specify on error equals to skip file 10, or you can say skip file 10 percentage. The fourth option says that you can continue even though error record exists in your data file. I have created couple of bat files. This is the first file which has total 5 rows. And if you look into this preferred customer flag, this should hold a Boolean record. However, if you see, the third row is having a none. It means if I load this file, either it should skip or it should abort if I have not selected the right copy option. Next file is also having the 5 records. There are 2 records which is holding incorrect data type, and I am going to execute this particular option to load that file. We have already seen on error equals to continue option. So I am going to create another table called customer underscore CSV underscore error and trying to simulate using this table. So my table is created successfully. I am going to use the customer underscore CSV underscore FF2 as a file format to load the data. Let me go back to legacy WebUI. I can see my customer CSV error table is available here. Let's select that row and click on the load data. I'm selecting the file. I have selected the file which is having a data issue, and this is how it looks like. Here it is a none, should be true or false, but right now it is none. Let's see how does it work. So I have selected the file format, and then I will say do not load any data in the file. So I'm choosing the first option, and equivalent SQL is this. Let's see, it should not load any data. So it has passed 5 rows and nothing is loaded, and it is clearly telling the Boolean value none is not recognized. So in this case, it has recognized the error appropriately. Looks good. Now I'm going to choose the second option and let's see how does it work. Selected the same file once again, same file format, and stop loading, roll back and return the error. Here the error message is slightly different. So here it says the Boolean value is not recognized because none cannot be typecasted to true or a false. It is giving more elaborated error message. Okay, let's go and check how our Snowsight WebUI looks like. It should primarily show 2 attempts, but somehow it is showing only the 1 attempt. So this is how the error looks like. Now this is another file where my row number 2 is saying female instead of F, and this value should be limited to 2 decimal, but it is having odd value. Let's see how this file is treated. This is the data type issue 2 using the same file format, and I say stop loading, roll back and return the error. It says unable to copy the file into table, user character length limit 1 exceed by string female file. So this error message is more elaborated and helps you to understand what's going wrong. So instead of choosing the option on error skip file, it would be good that if you choose on error equals to abort statement. So while loading the file, if Snowflake finds any incorrect record, it will abort and gives you a more detailed explanation. Now let's try to simulate this parameter where on error equals to skip file value can be specified. We are going to upload this file which has primarily 2 problems. The first is this truth. So the line number 4 is having an incorrect value, and line number 5 is also having incorrect value. Now let's try to load this. So first 3 records should be loaded, but the last 2 records should not be loaded with skip file option. Okay. So selected to error issue CSV file. Do not load any data if threshold is exceed 2 counts. So here it shows that total 4 records are uploaded out of 5, looks good. And the first value, it talks about the Boolean, which looks good. Now let's validate the data set. So if you see, the 5th record has automatically truncated the remaining values. However, out of 5, only 4 records got inserted. So this is the behavior of the third option. You have to specify how many rows you want to skip. If they are incorrect, you can either specify in absolute value or in a percentage value. Let's check the copy history. So this screen shows that it tried loading different files and the success status. Let's run the load history and see how does it look like. So I can see a clear difference between the WebUI versus the information schema history table, information schema load history, and it shows every attempt which I have made it so far. So this looks good, and here I can check the error messages. So in my opinion, coming to the load history is more meaningful. So Snowsight WebUI is not a very stable option. That's why most of the data engineer prefer to work on a classic WebUI. So this is how you can use on error property to manage your different use cases and different behavior. Let's talk about a couple of important options you can specify while creating the file format. There are scenarios where you have a different null string available in your data file, or your date format might not match the standard date format available in Snowflake, or your timestamp format might be different. All those things can be managed using the file format parameters. The first parameter is called field optionally enclosed by. There are cases where your description field are enclosed using a double quote or a single quote, or sometimes they are not enclosed with any character. In such case, you can use this parameter where you can either specify none or a double quote or a single quote. However, you cannot specify double quote and single quote together. Okay, so this is one important thing to remember. If you have a specific date format available in your data file, you can use the date format parameter where you can allow Snowflake to automatically understand the date format, or if you have a specific date format, then you can give this string instead of auto. Same is also applied for a timestamp where you can specify the timestamp format, and instead of auto string, you can give a specific format for the timestamp data type. Next, if you have a null string in your data file, then you can use this parameter which is called null if. You can indicate /n, or you can give null or nul, or if you have any other text which you want to identify as a null, then you can use that particular text. So these are the 4 options which will help you to parse your data type correctly and then load into the Snowflake appropriately. The next option is compression. So far we have used none. You can also specify auto, and Snowflake will have the best guess before the file is loaded based on the extension. You can use different options like GZIP, Z standard, deflate, raw deflate, and broadly. For the CSV file, this is a complete list which is supported by Snowflake file format. So using some of the parameter from the copy option and using some of the properties from file format definition, you can really control the data loading behavior. Next, we will try to understand virtual warehouse performance with respect to data loading. We all prefer to load large data set in shortest possible time. Whether file compression or a file type has any role in it, we will try to explore so you can handle your use case better. I am going to create a couple of tables to accommodate this data set and try to compare data loading performance. I have a data set which has total 300k record and available in CSV format as well as in PSV format, and then the data file is also available in GZIP format. So I'm going to create 3 tables to accommodate this data set. Customer CSV is created. Customer PSV is created and customer GZIP CSV is also created. For PSV and CSV file, which is non-compressed file, I already have a file format. For a CSV GZIP, I am creating the third file format, which has a compression type as GZIP. So my tables and file formats are created, and let's quickly see how the data looks like. So this is the same customer data set, but the total number of rows are close to 300k. So I can see I have total 300 customer records are available. Moving to my legacy web UI, I have these 3 new tables created. All my warehouses are suspended at this stage. So let's load the data. So first I am trying with CSV 300k. So it says customer data 300k uncompressed CSV. It is a text CSV, 43.2 MB of file. And this is the file format. I am choosing the fourth option, on error continue. And let's click on a load. Since it is a big data set, it may take a while. Encryption is in process. Now it will stage the file into the table stage location. It says 300k rows are passed and all 300k rows loaded. Good. So we loaded total 42.2 MB of file size, which finally compressed to 7.7 MB of file size. And if you have not seen my micro partition video, which is one of the most important when it comes to the Snowflake costing and data storage, I would strongly request you to go and watch that video. Let's try to load the pipe separated value. This time I am going to use PSV virtual warehouse. This is 300k uncompressed PSV and also 43.2 MB. I'm going to choose CSV file format and the fourth option, on error continue. Again, file is being encrypted first. This may take a while. Encryption is done. The file is being staged now. And I can see total 300k pipe separated data file is also loaded successfully. And this is also 7.7 MB file after it moved to Snowflake. Now let's load the same CSV file which is available in GZIP compressed format. I will again suspend this virtual warehouse first. So Snowflake has automatically identified the file type. It says GZIP and it is 12.5 MB. I am using customer CSV FF3 because it has a compression type GZIP. I'm opting for fourth option, on error continue. Let's click on load. File is being encrypted again. Now file is being staged. And here 300k rows parsed and loaded successfully. For all of them, the Snowflake storage size is 7.7 MB. However, the actual file size which we selected was approximately 42 MB of data file for uncompressed, and for a compressed one, approximately 12 MB of data file. If you use Hadoop or a Databricks as a data processing platform, the storage would have been 42 megabyte multiplied by 3 as a replication factor, and you end up paying for the storage close to 120 MB. But in Snowflake, you are just paying for 7.7 MB of storage. So Snowflake also helps you to optimize your storage and you have to pay less compared to Hadoop or Databricks platform. Now let's go to the query history and see how the performance looks like. So I have already filtered my SQL text with copy into command. Let's see the performance for this copy command. So first two copy command loaded uncompressed and third one loaded compressed data set. And you can see a clear difference. So if you look into the total duration, all of them completed same around 4-second time. So first execution time is 4.3, which includes 3.7 execution time, compilation is 509 millisecond, and queuing time is 99 millisecond. So compressed CSV file has performed slightly better than the uncompressed one. Okay. Somehow pipe separated value has performed well compared to CSV. However, the gzip compressed with comma separated value works best for a large data set. So this is how you can simulate the performance benchmark, and then you can decide the virtual warehouse size or the delimiter or the compression type. Now what if I try to load a data set which is larger than 300K? Let's try that. So I'm trying to load 500K uncompressed data, which is 72.1 MB, and I'm using the customer FF2. So I ended with an error that maximum file size exceeded. This is the challenge we have it with WebUI. And if you have to load a large data set or a lot of data set, how will you do that? So in our next chapter in this episode, we'll try to explore many more things: how to load JSON, XML, multiple data set, how to load data from your S3 bucket or Azure ADLS Gen 2. And you will learn a lot from these different scenarios, which will make you more proficient data developer and leverage all the power of Snowflake data loading features.